Yeah.
Okay, that's okay then. Something else I've always given thought to. I like the subjects of odds, bookies odds. Not just bookmakers, but the odds of things happening.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'll ask you a couple of
Right.
questions to see if you have
Okay.
any idea about some of the odds. Now,
Yeah.
I guess how would we describe odds of something happening or a horse winning a race or something like that?
Yeah.
I suppose it's just statistical likelihood of something happening, for
Happening. Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Now, I'll ask you a question. You probably don't do the lottery. I do occasionally, but
All right. Okay.
what do you think what are the odds of winning the main lottery thing, which they do, I think, twice a week? It's one, you got one in so many. How many would you think, what
I,
odds of winning the lottery? The jackpot, I mean the jackpot.
I would probably say one in a billion or something.
No, it's not as bad as that.
Is
It's
it?
one in 45 million.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's not, I mean, that's still a hell of a lot. And if you go back a few years, they
Right.
actually added another 10 numbers. They went from between 1 and 40 and made it between 1 and 50. And that made the odds much worse. But yeah, to win the jackpot, 1 in 45 million. So that's pretty grim. Actually, I gather to win any prize
Yeah.
is one in. So that's not bad odds to win something. Okay, so that's that. What about have another guess to win the Euro Millions jackpot? Because there
To,
you've got an extra number as well.
right. Right. So, and then does that cover the whole of Europe?
Yeah, there's 9 countries in the Euro Millions.
Right. Okay.
But you've got 5 numbers and 2 star numbers. The star numbers are between 1 and 12,
Right.
and then 5 numbers between 1 and 50.
Right.
So it's pretty horrendous to actually get the right numbers. Obviously,
Yeah.
seven altogether.
Yeah.
So it's worse odds wise than the lottery itself. But have a
So
guess. What do you think the Euro Millions jackpot?
would that be 1.3 million? 1.3 billion?
No, no, it's one. So the lotto was 1 in 45 million. Winning
Yeah.
the Euro jackpot is 1 in 140 million,
All
which is
right.
still pretty grim. But when you think, it's part of what I think about odds. What
Yeah.
do they really mean? Because um, people do win quite regularly, not
Right.
just in this country, but in the other countries in Europe, the Euro Millions jackpot. So those winners, what do they then say? Well, I beat odds of 140 million to one. Well, in a way they did, but in another way they didn't do anything different if they just done it on a lucky dip than anybody else. It's just the pure luck of those numbers, and in that sense, the odds give a guide as to how impossible it is to win.
Mm.
A lot of people would say, don't ever waste your money on the lottery or the Euro Millions because you're never going to win it. And in the vast majority of cases, that's absolutely right. But as it happens, I had a customer when I used to work for my living
Yeah.
in finance in banking,
Yeah.
and he was quite a well-off customer. He used to import. I won't say more than I should, but he used to import stuff, and he was a good chap. Well, and I remembered his name, which I won't say,
Yeah.
but about 3 or 4 years ago, I saw him on the television news one day with his son. And I remember his son because he was younger, he was a teenager,
Yeah.
but his son was then, I don't know, in his 20s. And his son had won the Euro Millions jackpot that week, and it was £107 million. And I
Wow.
thought, wow, I know that guy because the father was quite rich in his own right.
Yeah.
Um, so it sort of brought home that people really do win these enormous amounts of money.
Yeah.
But again, it made me think at the time, what do those odds mean? Because to this young chap, and he was married as well, with a kid.
Yeah.
Um, those odds really mean nothing because he went out and he bought 4 Euro Millions tickets in the local shop, not very far from here, really.
All right.
And as luck had it, those numbers actually came up in his favour. So those odds, almost impossible odds of
all
one
four
in
tickets,
140 million.
all four tickets, or one of the four tickets.
No, one of the four tickets
Right. Okay.
had the right numbers on. The others didn't win anything.
Right.
But it just makes you think about odds. And also, then, if I'll ask you another question,
Go on.
what are the odds do you think of being struck by lightning?
Uh. Oh.
Now, bearing in mind the
Oh.
odds of the lottery stuff,
Oh.
do
All right.
you think
Okay.
it's more or less or whatever?
I think. All right. So if I'm going that way, I think it's less.
Yeah, I would say less. Yeah. Well, in a given year,
Yeah.
in any given year, the odds of being so, in other words, let's say this year, the odds of any one of us being struck by lightning are 1 in 775,000, so less than 1 million.
Yeah.
So the odds are far less than winning the lottery. We've got more chance of being struck by lightning. But actually, across our lifetimes, I don't know who works out these odds, but they are genuine odds. Across our lifetimes, our chances of being struck by lightning, not necessarily killed, but
Yeah.
very often people are,
Yeah.
is 1 in 10,000. Now, when you think
All
to
right.
win the jackpot on the Euro Millions is 1 in 140 million,
Yeah.
and yet the odds of being struck by lightning and possibly killed across our whole lifetime is 1 in 10,000, which doesn't strike me as being great odds in one sense. I mean, it's still highly unlikely to happen to people,
Yeah.
but again, the odds, it's a strange thing. When I had appendicitis. I think it was just after I joined Deepstuff. It was in March 17,
Yeah.
and it was undiagnosed for a week. I mean, I
Right.
could have had sepsis or anything. It was very poor stuff by my GP practice. But anyway, it's another story. But when they took me in, they said, "No, we now realise what's wrong with you." And I was in real pain. It had been as well.
Yeah.
Um, you got a ruptured appendix. We've got to operate pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
But they said we have to tell you that the odds. It sounds. They do say these things. I know the odds of you actually dying in the surgery are 1 in 10,000. Another like the lightning one. And
Oh.
I thought, well, nothing I can do about it. If I don't have it, I'm going to die anyway.
Yeah.
But again, it makes you think because they do have to tell you before an operation, as I
Today,
understand it, what the odds are
is it is that
of dying.
is that a
So
legal
that doesn't.
is that a
Hmm?
legal obligation for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, whether that's because in a way I did have a choice, but there wasn't really a choice. But where there's an operational choice,
Yeah.
then I think they do have to say if we do this, and that may go across the board. Any operation you have, they just let you know. And
Yeah.
I guess if it's a youngster, they would tell their parents. And of course, most people, thankfully, don't die.
Yeah.
Anesthetics nowadays are a lot better, I gather, than they used to be.
But it used to be, yeah.
But no, the subject of odds is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and perhaps the last one that I've looked up before, and let me say, flying in aeroplanes is statistically the safest place to be. It's
Yeah.
safer to be in an aeroplane than in your own home, statistically.
Yeah.
So nothing I say is going to suggest that it's not safe. I mean, I fly. I don't mind flying. Um, but the odds of being in a plane crash, what would you think that is?
I'd say 1 in 5,000.
No, it's 1 in 11 million. So
That's
it's
high.
again the lottery odds are way worse than that.
Oh.
But 1 in 11 million, and I think someone once worked out if you flew in an aeroplane every day for 18 years, every day, you would be in a plane crash once in 18 years if you flew every day, which tells you how safe it is. But we don't get onto planes thinking it's going to crash. People are often nervous,
Yeah.
but it's a very safe place to be, especially when you consider, just thinking of another one, people who get electrocuted, um, where you actually die.
Right. Okay.
200 people a year, apparently, on average, in this country, which is about 4 every week, die through electrocution. And it's all to do with water and electrics. I often think kettles can be potentially dangerous. Even if we're cordless, you have all the water, and it's right on the electric bit, and
Yeah.
it just reminds us to be very careful with
Yeah.
exposed wires or water and electricity. But yeah,
Yeah.
these things do happen.
Yeah.
So it pays to be careful. Pays to be careful on these things. But
Yeah.
yeah, the odds. I think odds is a very interesting subject, I have to say.
I was just thinking the odds of flying the airplane one. I don't think it really compares actually because you have more cars on the road than you do airplanes. At any given time,
True.
there are more cars
Right.
on the
Yeah.
road. So the road is way busier than the air traffic or the airspace. And as such, if you're saying or the stats are saying that, the odds of, being in a plane crash are,
Mm.
like it's the safest form of transportation. And that's because we don't use it very often.
Well, I don't know about that. I think
Right.
at any given time, there's something like 5 million people in the sky flying
All
around the
right.
world.
That much.
Um, and of course, the other thing is, don't forget, in our country, road deaths against statistics,
Yeah.
but road deaths, not just accidents of injury.
Yeah.
We have one of the best records in this country
We,
across the world,
we
and
do.
certainly across Europe. We sadly about 16 or 1700 thereabouts people every year die on our roads in the UK. Now, some countries, believe me, have far worse figures than that because the standard of driving in many countries is quite appalling.
Yeah.
But so 1700 people. Now we don't kill 1700 people on our aeroplanes, and indeed, not worldwide on civil aeroplanes. It would be unusual to get to that level of deaths in civil aviation.
Wow.
To get 1,700 people die. So yeah, statistically it is a very safe place to be. People fall, people fall down their stairs, perhaps especially older people, but and die
Yeah.
every day because stairs can be potentially very dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make this podcast sound miserable, but it's just quite an intriguing thing the way odds and mathematics interprets the risks. And I guess we all have to at least know what the relative risks of doing things are. I mean, we could be anywhere